June 5th, 2023, and I call the meeting of the Brainerd City Council to order. Administrator Bergman, please call the roll.
Johnson. Chesak. O'Day.
Here.
Stunek. Terry. Stenglein.
Here.
Bevins.
Here.
And Bedot.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 4 is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion by Stenglein, a second by Chief Stunek. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We have an agenda. Item 5 is a consent calendar. This is a notice to the public that all matters listed are considered routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the council votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call. Is there a move to adopt the consent calendar? So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Terry. Who was over here?
That was me.
All right, and a second by O'Day. Any discussion? Hearing none, Administrator Bergman, please call the roll.
Chesak.
Aye.
O'Day.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Stenglein.
Yes.
And Bevins.
Yes. That resolution is adopted. Item 6 is a presentation. Item 6A is a presentation of a tower award to Police Chief Mike Bestel.
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
That is my category. So we have, of course, in this fine box, if I can actually open it, one of our favorite awards in the city of Brainerd. This is the Tower Award. And there we go. Finally got it. Sorry, I should have done that prior too. This is one of our Tower Awards, which the city of Brainerd is something that we get to give out a handful of times each year, but each time we do, it's something that's super important. And I had asked Kevin Stunek to speak as well, but as you can see, he's already crying. So I'll take over those duties for the meantime. This, of course, is for now retired Chief Bestel, and I just wanted to say to you super fast that I got to meet you personally when I was applying for the job for Community Action. And when I walked in the room, you were an intimidating fellow to see sitting there, and it was an interesting interaction because you could tell where you were in your life, and you were a kind of a no business type of, no business type of guy, no business whatsoever, kind of a no nonsense type of guy, but you knew who you were, and immediately that resonated to me. And I really enjoyed the handful of years that I've had getting to know you. In my phone, I will admit this, I had your name wrong for a very long time. I had Bestful. So that's always fun to find out that you have wrong. But it really means a lot to us in the city that we have a police force that is what they are. You know, there are many philosophies in policing. And there are many ways that we could have our own police force be, but it really takes on the characteristics of the leadership. And our policing is something that is all about community, and that comes directly from you. And I was extremely happy to have conversations with you over the last handful of years about what your philosophy is and how we should do things and what our officers should be about. And just reading the article recently that you had in the Dispatch about how, you know, that's really what it's all about, right? It's about that we have citizens that are out there trying to have a good time, and your job is to keep them safe. And those words are probably the most important thing you can hear a police chief say. It means a lot that in the last handful of years, we've went through shifting around of some things, and I can honestly say that I think that you have put us in a position to be successful moving forward, and that's probably the best thing that anyone can possibly do, specifically in those areas. So I asked Kelly to speak a little bit as well, but I think I handled it. I think
You nailed it.
I think I took care of everything, so I'm just going to push you to the side and say it is an absolute honor And we really look forward to you being able to go enjoy yourself and spend some time with your family and spend some time fishing and doing all the stuff that you get to do when you're retired. But we know that you're still going to be here as a part of the community, and greatly appreciate everything you've done. So and I'm going to get this wrong. I think it says on here, how many years of service? How many years of service? 26 with Brainerd. 26, I can't do math. It says dates, but it doesn't give you numbers, but 26 years with the city of Brainerd. I really want to thank you, Mike, for everything that you've done. And if everyone can just give a round of applause for this great individual.
Happens. Imagine that, huh?
I was going to make a joke about the complete lack of mustaches that came in the back. If there's one thing you failed at, well, then one came in. Just one. You failed at as a chief is the amount of mustaches.
Go first. No, you're fine. Okay. Perfect.
I still have Marco Day.
Thanks, Mike. I'm sorry.
I think he's hinting. Thanks, guys.
1997 to 2020.
And go.
All right, next up is item 6B, a presentation on age-friendly Brainerd. Come on up, Ellie. State your name. And, yep.
And I'll maybe give a quick introduction here.
Oh, yes, James,
Yes,
please.
thank you,
It
Mr.
doesn't
President.
list that
Yep.
on. Yeah, let's give take your time.
Yeah, so Eleanor Briquette of Central Minnesota Council on Aging is here to present about Brainerd becoming an age-friendly city. The purpose of this presentation is to inform City Council about age-friendly cities in Minnesota and ask the presenter any questions that you may have afterwards. The presenter would like the city to be the entity overseeing the program with support from many volunteers within the community. Staff will bring this as an agenda item to the next City Council meeting for consideration of this request. And with that, we can turn it over to Eleanor.
Come on up, Eleanor, and state your name and address, because we're on TV.
Okay, do I have?
You're now a
okay, there we go.
TV star.
Hello and thank you, Mayor Badeau and members of the council, as well as the city staff. Thank you for having me here tonight. So for some of you.
And your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you very much. My name is Eleanor Burkett, and I live at 757 Holton Avenue, which is Brainerd Oaks area. And I've lived there now, it'll be 15 years in August, so hooray, and I've loved it. And I love living in the city of Brainerd, and I'm really proud to be a citizen of Brainerd, so it's really a delight. Tonight I'm going to just bring about some information about age-friendly communities, and just for you to ponder, and then I can answer maybe a few questions if you have them tonight. Or if you do any time in between now and the 15th, if you wanted to ask me some questions, you'd be welcome to too. Next slide. Or do I do that? Okay, you'll do that. Oh, I do it? Okay. So anyway, so why Brainerd? I mean, these are the things I'm going to cover tonight is looking at is, so why Brainerd? Why are we talking about age-friendly Brainerd? And then I'll mention about some age-friendly communities and what they are, what age-friendly community means, as well as give a couple of examples, and then talk about the process. So this slide I could talk the rest of the evening about, and you'd get to nothing else on your agenda, as I'm sure you all could add things. But I put this slide here for us to ponder, to think about, as I'm going through this presentation, about what makes Brainerd a great place to live, and why would we want to think about this kind of thing, about becoming engaged with it. But then I'm going to jump into some statistics. And this is fresh off the press. And I think all of you are going to be getting a copy of the Minnesota Report on Aging. It was mailed on Thursday, so you should be getting it pretty soon here this week. And this is just a snippet from that report about what's happening in Minnesota with aging. So a couple of things I'll point out is that in the first one is that in 2020, an estimated about 23% of Minnesota's population was adults over the age of 50. In Crow Wing County, that's a little over 31% of people are over the age of 60. So that's well above what the state trends are. And a lot of people are moving here because they want to live here. I just met some neighbors on Holton Avenue who are just bought a house there, and they're moving up here from the cities for their retirement. And I just met them about an hour ago. And so it's an example of lots of people are moving here or want to move here because this is where they want to retire to. And the other thing I wanted to point out was the family caregiver ratio. So for Minnesota, it's 8. For the region, we're Central Minnesota Council on Aging covers 14 counties. In our region, it's the same counties as the Initiative Foundation and some of those counties. But in our region, it's 7, and in Crow Wing County, it's 9. And what does that mean? That means for every 9 people over the age of 85 who might need care, there's 1 person between the ages of 45 to 64 in the ratio to be a potential caregiver. That's both men and women. So that's a pretty high number. That not everybody who's over 85 actually needs care, but that's the kind of ratio of what the population is looking like. As of 2020, Minnesota has a larger group of people over the age of 65 than we have under the age of 18. And that's big. And as you can see by the ratio of people in the 45 to 64 range too, there's a lot more older people than there are younger people in any of the groups that are younger. And that trend is going to continue to happen. I'm sure you've heard it's happening nationwide. That I'm laughing because I'm in that group, as a few of us are in the room. But you know, the boomers are still retiring, and we still haven't met the big bubble yet. We're still on the way to what's really going to happen. So I kind of give you that as a background. The other thing I wanted to just mention that when we talk about age-friendly, we're not just talking about seniors like, let's make Brainerd the old folks' home. No, we're talking about making a community that's friendly for people of all ages. So it's not singling out older people. But we've also found that what works for older people also is good for other people as well, a lot of the things. A couple of things is about the population is aging. And I think some of the important things about this to think about is that in the city of Brainerd, as we're thinking about the future, is that these are going to affect our real estate and infrastructure development, and it can because, like I said, more people are moving here because they want to age here. Before I lived in Brainerd, I lived in Cass County, about an hour north of here, and there's no hospitals in Cass County. You have to go to one of the counties around, depending on where you live. And I met people who were moving to places like Brainerd because they wanted to be near the services. And, a lot of people retire up to their lake home or whatever, and then they find out it's an hour to go to the hospital or whatever. So a lot of people will eventually then want to move to a place where there's more services. And why not Brainerd? Because Brainerd has a lot of services and has a lot of positive things going for it. So it's also about what people's progress and their preferences are to be living in rural areas. Most people, I can't remember the number now, but the percentage of people who said that they wanted to live in rural areas was about, I think it was 50% of people, compared to people who want to live in like the cities or more urban areas like that. So people do have preferences towards rural communities. So the Livable Communities Project is, it can be a part of AARP. AARP has developed tools, and that's why I'm using this, because there's tools out there to help the process along. But it's about engaging older adults and using research and, resources that are provided. Everything's there, and so many resources. And then also that the AARP itself does give out funding for demonstrations and grants pretty much every year, and they have been doing that for a while. And I'm going to talk about Minnesota next. So in Minnesota, we have 13 communities that are in the process of age-friendly. Some were in the process, and I believe the first one started in 2016. And things kind of dried up, of course, after in 2020, and progress slowed. I think my predecessor, Rachel Zeta, came and spoke to some of you who were on the board, the city council back then, about age-friendly, but she's moved on, and I'm here. And anyway, two of the towns I wanted to talk about were Alexandria and Princeton. And the reason I wanted to talk to them is because of the cities that are on there. They seem to me sort of comparable in a lot of ways to Brainerd, and might have some similarities. So some of them, like Alexandria really focused on health and community services and transportation for their community, as that was what their focus became in this age-friendly process. Princeton, they focused on communication and information. They worked a lot on broadband in their area, and they're still working on that. And then they also worked a lot on respect and inclusion by having block parties and opportunities for people of all ages to get together. So I'm not going to really talk about the other cities. I can give you more information on that if you would like, on some of those cities. I'm shooting to the state of Minnesota, as in 2019, Governor Walz signed a executive order committing Minnesota to be an age-friendly state. And that opened up some funding streams. And this past, since January, they had their first request for proposals and are now providing money to communities who applied for that. And I think it was $2.4 million or something like that dollars. And I just heard that in the past legislation that just passed, there's going to be more funds considered age-friendly Minnesota grants that'll be available. And that could be another asset for Brainerd as well. So the things we want to look at and what makes it a community age-friendly are these 8 domains of livability. So that includes outdoor spaces and buildings. I think a downtown Brainerd has a lot of potential, and I know people have been working hard on downtown Brainerd for a lot of years, and it has a lot of potential for having spaces and buildings that would be attractive for people who are aging, as well as having shops and things that might be, restaurants and different shops that people would want to go to. So having housing, mixed in with that as well. Looking at transportation is another thing. And then also including the social participation and being able to engage socially is a really important aspect of being an age-friendly community. So there's places for people to meet. And one of the things I think of right downtown is the Y. And then the center, there's places for people to meet, and really making sure that those things are all tied together, and that we're doing things that can help make this an age-friendly, or that this makes this an age-friendly community. Because I don't want to assume that it's like we're not. We've done a lot of things in this community to make this a really age-friendly community already, and this is just a way to do some more. Also to look at in the domains are communication and information, and community and health services. So the process goes that there's first a plan, And then usually that's 1 to 2 years in implementation process, and then to evaluate, and then kind of going around and working on this throughout. So these are kind of just some of the timelines that are suggested. But the thing when I look at this, it's not like we're sitting on our hands and not doing anything right now. I know we're working a lot on housing, and we are working on some of these issues, and those things would certainly be tied in and be a part of this. So the impact of being a part of this has been that there've been 60% have achieved change in public policy of the groups that have been a part of this. Most common successes include integrating age-friendly lens into the community plan. And the most frequent wins by category has been housing, transportation, outdoor spaces, buildings, health and community services. And then also there was a 34% increase in private sector investment. And then there was all 85% stated that they had an increase in awareness and collaboration and enacting programs that were in their action plan. It made things more doable. So it was just about a way to look at the strategic planning. And use what's already there. Ooh, this is really small. I wasn't sure how big this would be. Really, this slide is just about how people can be engaged in the different types of groups that might be engaged. So it's an inclusive thing to be talking with people. Like I think of, like the Y and the library and the, the center and volunteers, citizens, and business owners, and just all kinds of different people might be interested in making this community, helping to improve and make this community even more age-friendly than it is already. And the thing about it is that, it's a community effort. It's a collaborative effort about trying to help engage people and, and help them own the community, not own the community, but, be part of the planning and things and to be excited about living in Brainerd. So it's just sometimes, we think about the gaps and unmet needs, but we also think about what are our strengths and what we already bring to the table. And I know that Brainerd has done so many things that we already can talk about, and I met with James and Jesse as well a number of times, and have talked about just what the assets we have in this community and what's happening. And this would be just something to maybe help strengthen what's going on and what we're doing. And the idea about having, it's required that the city council or the city or community or county, it doesn't have to be a city, become involved, because they don't want to be like having a community group doing something and then not have the city part of it. And it'd also be like if there was a grant out there, it'd be having a fiscal agent. But it's not meant to add to more work to Jesse or James or the intern's project work or Jennifer's either. It's more about bringing people together and depending upon what's decided what to work on, like those 8 domains I talked about, you wouldn't need to work on all 8 of them at once. It could be like, let's say we're going to focus on housing and communication or housing and social engagement. Maybe we're going to put in more park benches so that when people are walking, they have more places to sit along the trails or along the paths where they walk. So it could be looking at different things. It could be looking outdoor spaces or whatever. We choose what we want to work on as a community, and also where there's capacity to work on that. And again, that's looking at the public as well as what's already happening and where is their energy and capacity to work on these things. So the last thing I wanted to say too is that you're not alone. So Jay Hapala is he's the state director with AARP. And then the Central Minnesota Council, I'm a community development specialist is my title. And I've been here about 1.5 years in this capacity. And we have received funding to be able to work with communities. And in your packets, first of all, there's some information about the age-friendly community. And then I shared one on engaging your community. And this one is on how to bring people together. And we're going to be hosting, I think it's about 6 different events like this, talking about how to do this. And like I said, all the tools are already there. And this is really an opportunity to bring people together and using, the facilitators and volunteers to help engage our community in talking about what do we want Brainerd to look like. So it goes back to that slide. And when I walk a lot. My office is in the basement of Bremer Bank, and I walk around a lot during my lunch hour and different times, and I just see so much potential, and I dream about things that, could possibly be there and how we could bring our community together and do things to really attract people to living here, because that's what I see can benefit Brainerd as well as benefit the people who choose to live here. So I want to ask if there's any questions. I should look at the clock here.
You're doing fine.
Okay.
Any questions from Eleanor? Any questions? I have one.
Sure.
You've been working with James and Jesse. If the council, not this evening, but at a later date, decides they want to pursue this further, does our staff know what we need to do next?
Right. So well, we've talked about it. The next thing is to decide what we want to do, and then to start bringing in people to help do that.
Okay.
So it's not going to be, again, you're not alone. It's not going to be an isolated thing, or it's not going to be all on 1 or 2 people. It's about doing an assessment first, I guess, to see what do we want to work on as a community? What do we want to, and it might be something as simple as, more I'm just using benches, but it could be, something else. It could be like looking at the infrastructure of housing and, or whatever. It could be some of the things you're already working on and just maybe expanding on them a bit.
Okay. So they know how to guide us.
Do you guys know?
Yep.
I didn't want
I
to
mean,
speak for somebody else.
Kind of the general rule of thumb, Eleanor, is what we would decide if we want to pursue this further.
Yep.
And then it leaves the council, goes to like a committee. So, because otherwise, we'd be spending hours on
No.
this.
Yep.
It wouldn't ever happen.
No.
So, as long as they know how to direct us, and we can make a decision as to whether we want to pursue this.
Yes. And I just wanted to present this as an opportunity.
Yep.
It's just simply that's what I'm here to do tonight.
Thank you.
I'm not
No-
trying to twist your arm.
No questions. Thank you very much. You got
Thank
off
you.
easy.
Okay.
Next up is item 7. 7A is Personal and Finance Committee. Who's carrying the ball tonight? Chief Stunek.
Honorable, retired, old guy. Okay, we have 7 agenda items on the agenda
That
tonight.
shirt when you measure snow,
Actually, I do
because I could
sometimes.
see you out there then with your ruler.
I deserve a raise because we got so much snow this year. You can thank me for that.
Oh, I do,
Okay.
every night.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, we have 7 agenda items. The first one is to ratify the hiring of Jason Gage effective June 12th, 2023. Further, that he be placed on step 4 of the labor wage grid at $26.32 an hour, and I so move.
We have a motion by Stunek, a second by Kintier. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Oh, you had a question, I'm sorry, Mr. O'Day, Chairman O'Day.
You mentioned starting at step 4.
Yes, sir.
I guess if you wanted to expand on it or somebody.
Can anybody on staff?
I would suggest Chris, Mr.
Chris
Chair.
Schubert, can you explain that?
Certainly. So back in 2019, the council had given us guidance when we can go beyond step 1. For this individual, he has been a truck driver. He already has his CDL. He went to school for his CDL. And in addition, let me see, we needed to match a job offer for this individual or his current wage. So that is why we went to step 4, based on the criteria that we have.
That answer your question, Mr. O'Day? Yep. Okay, so any other questions? Hearing none, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed, Chief.
Okay, the next one is to ratify the hiring of Coleman Hayes effective June 12th, 2023. Further, that he be placed on step 4, Mike, of the IUOE Maintenance 3 wage grid at $31.14 per hour, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Stunek, second by Terry. Chris, any thoughts on this one?
If you'd like me to explain our
If you would.
justification for this one, this gentleman actually is the shop foreman at Ziegler Cat in Brainerd. He has been a technician for 8 years. He is ASE certified for heavy and medium-duty truck repair, and he's actually taking a $5 an hour pay cut to come work for us.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Moving on. The next item is a motion to acknowledge the city of Brainerd will recognize Juneteenth as a state holiday on June 19th, beginning in 2023 by amending Article 15 of the Holiday Employee Policy Manual to include Juneteenth as a holiday, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Stunek, a second by Terry. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Does that mean that we are adding this to our employees?
Correct.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. That changes our next meeting, yes? Didn't we-
Yes, it does. To June 20th, we are not by law allowed to meet on the 19th of June. So like we've recognized with other holidays that land on a Monday, we hold the meeting the Tuesday after.
Okay, you all got that? That's the next meeting. We'll be on Tuesday. All right, please proceed, Chief.
Okay, another one. Adopt a resolution authorizing our Brainerd Police Department to apply for a traffic safety enforcement grant from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, Office of Traffic Safety, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Stunek, second by Terry. Any comment, questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Mr. Chair, that's a resolution.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you very much. That is a resolution, so I will ask Administrator Bergman to call the roll.
Chesak.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Stengline.
Yes.
And Bevins.
Yes, that resolution is adopted. Please proceed.
Okay, the next one is authorizes signatures and enter into a proposed school resource officer service agreement between the city of Brainerd and Independent School District 181 as presented, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Stunek, a second by Terry. Any discussion? Hearing none. This is a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Comment, just quick?
Yep.
Just so you know, the numbers are in your packet, and this will be going in front of the school board in the near future
Thank you.
for their approval.
Next Monday.
Please proceed.
I gotta get there. Okay, the next one is approve the request from Brainerd Community Action for a donation for Independence Day, which is the 4th of July, fireworks in the amount of $8,000 to be paid from the special projects budget line item, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Stunek, second by Terry. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Okay, moving on. This is a resolution. Adopt a resolution authorizing the city administrator to file an application with the Minnesota Management and Budget Office for 2024 state appropriations funded from state general obligation funds, and the motion is to approve.
And to work with consultants.
Oh, that's right. And I gotta add to that, and to allow the city staff to work with consultants to help them put that together.
Thank you. We have a motion by Stunek. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Terry. Any discussion? Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, please, Mr. O'Day.
The water treatment plant improvements, lead and copper corrosion compliance, is that supposed to say? I know we got 5 million coming for the new treatment plant. Is this all completely different stuff?
This is completely different stuff. The $5 million that we got will be the backwash system, the phase 2 of what we've already done with the water storage tank. The funds that we'll be applying for in this round is for our lead and copper corrosion, and we'll be working, BPU Commission has engaged with Bolton and Mink to move forward with exploring those and looking at different options.
Thank you.
Expensive stuff. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I just would like to note that I'd like to see us move some of these other items up, pedestrian bridge or Cuyuna Lake State Trail extension, personally, over the water treatment, considering that we just received a large amount for the water treatment, but that's just me.
Thank you. Any further comments?
I do have one.
Yeah, Mr.
I was just
Stewart.
going to say, and people I'm sure understand this, that the 3 priorities were put together by staff and they're in the order that they prioritized them.
Thank you. Any further comments? Hearing none, Administrator Bergen, please call the roll.
Chesak.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Stengline.
Yes.
And Bevins.
Yes, that resolution is adopted. Anything else, Chief?
Nope, that concludes our report.
Next up is B, Safety and Public Works Committee. Chairman Mike O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. We only had 14 items on tonight's agenda.
Want me to handle that for you?
No, we can take a break in the middle, though, and
Okay.
we can all head to the restroom or wherever.
Shots fired.
But item 1, the first 5 items are parking lot and street closure applications. First one is request to close North 8th Street from Fur to Bluff Avenue for a grad party at a residence between, this would be between the park, Triangle Park, and the residence. And the motion coming out of committee was to approve the temporary closure of North 8th Street from Fur to Bluff Avenue on June 17th, 2023, from noon to 4:30 p.m. I so move.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Chesak. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next one is a parking lot closure application for the NARBQ. Motion coming out of committee was to recommend approval of the attached application under the conditions listed in the attached event application, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Chesak. Any discussion? Mr. Chair?
This is the group that's trying to raise funds for a new skate park. We have had this, it is in City Hall parking lot. We have had this, I believe, 2 years now. Is this the second year? Third year. It'll be July 1st from noon to 5 p.m. If you haven't been there for it, come check it out.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Next event street closure application was for the Lakes Area Music Festival Block Party. Motion coming out of committee was to recommend approval of the attached application under the conditions listed in the attached event application, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Stengline. Any discussion? Mr. Chair?
I'll just say this is in the Laurel Street, part of the Laurel Street parking lot on Wednesday, August 9th, 2023. Music, activities, food, all that fun stuff. And it should be done by 8:30 p.m.
Thank you. Anything else? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Please proceed.
Thank you. Next event street closure application was for Independence Day. Essentially the same route as last year, starting in the high school upper parking lot, wrapping around 5th Street, Laurel Street, down the hill on East River Road, past the new park, and ending in the lower parking lot for the high school. Motion coming out of committee was to recommend approving the attached event street closure application under the conditions the applicant remove any banners and signs after the event, apply for a permit for the fireworks through the fire department, and that the applicant ensures to coordinate the activities for the day regarding traffic control, etc., with the police department. I so move.
Second.
Motion by O'Day, second by Chesak. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. The next street closure application is for Street Fest. Motion coming out of committee was to approve the attached application under the conditions listed in the attached event application, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, second by Stengline. Any discussion? Mr. Chair?
I can mention this is from noon on July 28th, that's Friday, through midnight the following day, July 29th. It's the usual Rib Fest games, activities, everything fun that you want to go and see at Street Fest. I think the additional, the street closure is Front Street between 6th and 8th, and then there was additional closure of the Front Street parking lot that they're going to use for some type of activity. I believe they're expanding vendors in this event.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. This is not a street closure application. This is actually a change order to improvement 2112 North Brainerd reconstruction. Motion coming out of committee was to approve the change order 2 in the amount of $32,793.60, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Chesak. Any discussion? Mr. Chair.
So the additional cost comes from buying a lot of fill. It was estimated that there was an X amount of concrete underneath the road, and we would get by with X amount of fill. Turns out the concrete back then was a lot thicker when they laid it. So we pulled out a lot of concrete, therefore we got to buy more fill. So this is what it came out to, but we should be good for phases 1 and 2. And hopefully phase 3, we're told, doesn't include concrete underneath, so we should be good there too.
Prices were cheaper then.
Yes.
They were.
Thank you.
They were.
Put that to trowel the whole thing by hand. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Number 7 was awarding improvement 23-03 2023 large patch project. Staff recommended, and we motion forward to award the improvement 23-03 large patching contract to Anderson Brothers in the amount of $49,023, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by O'Day, a second by Stingline. Any discussion? Mr. Chair.
I can just say we had 2 bids. One was this one was a couple $1,000s, almost $3,000 more, and it is under our $50,000 that we budget for this each year.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed. You're about, what, halfway?
I think we just got there.
Yeah.
Anybody need a break? Stunek?
Keep going, I'm all
Okay.
good.
Or John.
Item number 8, this is having to do with the Trunk Highway 371B, or business, and Willow Street Roundabout Engineering Services contract. It's actually an engineering and design work contract. Motion coming out of committee was to recommend the award of the Trunk Highway 371B Willow Street Roundabout Project Engineering Contract to SEH in the amount of $387,511.20, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by O'Day, a second by Stingline. Any discussion? Mr. Chair.
So this is a project that there will be some cost share with MnDOT. We're still figuring out the details on that, so we did add in this motion that we wanted to make sure that council is aware that we were thinking about holding off on signatures on this contract until those get nailed down between Brainerd, the city of Brainerd, and MnDOT, so that we don't get stuck with the full bill. We've been assured by our city engineer that those talks are underway, and if we just pass it through now, it should go smoothly. And basically, we don't have a whole lot to worry about. The other discrepancy was, this wasn't the low bid. The low bid was actually about 12,000 less. That was at Bolton and Mink, but the 2 proposals were scored by 3 different individuals and staff, and the SEH scored higher just based on the overall proposal, bringing their bid to the highest award winning. That's where we're at.
Thank you. Any further comments?
President
Mr.
Evans?
Chesak, yes.
There's one other item related to what Chairman O'Day is mentioning. Moving forward on this, and you probably know it, but this allows the design, or the engineering is 3-phase here. Is that correct, Jesse? It's a 3-phase part.
Yes, so preliminary design and then construction.
Okay, so they will be involved in the construction when approving this, just so for information.
Thank you. Any further comments? Questions? I have one, and that's just in the years that MnDOT has including, has consistently balked at putting any kind of traffic control at this intersection, including when they spent millions of dollars of tax dollars just recently on that road. Part of their consistent complaint has been right-of-way expense. And I would really like to know, to make sure that when we talk with MnDOT, that they understand that expectations are that they're gonna participate in that as well. Since we could have done this 2 years ago, when the road was all tore up.
That has been a discussion that we've had,
bet.
at least with the proposers, as well as the constraints that we have with right-of-way and trying to avoid whatever we possibly can for right-of-way acquisition.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Kelly, are you telling me that at the time that road was constructed, we recommended that some kind of signal or something was put into that place?
I am.
I was just wondering if that's what you were saying. Thank you, sir.
Uh-huh. It's a crazy world. Now they need it. Any other comments?
Foresight.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. I think we're at number 9. This is just a discussion on the gate at Evergreen, the boat landing down by Evergreen Cemetery. There was discussion at previous meetings about what to do regarding fishing opener. We were told that it would always be open for fishing opener. However, this year it was underwater still. So the gate remained closed. And we talked about maybe putting some clarifying language on the gate. And that's essentially where we ended up. Choosing number 3 out of the 3 options given to keep the gate, clarify that the gate can continue to be closed should the conditions not be supportive of vehicle traffic. And as the mayor helped us amend this motion into adding with, what was the exact language we added?
Specific consideration for fishing opener, I believe.
With specific consideration for fishing opener. And I so move, if that makes sense.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any chance you could read it one more time, or can we see it in writing?
I can make a more specific
How
motion.
big is the sign?
Oh, the sign. It could be as big as the gate.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Do I have to go measure?
We have restrictions.
Does that thing light up?
Please
All
no.
right. Just, if you can, try and read it one more time.
So, option 3 as described is what we're motioning towards. So,
Yep.
motioning that option 3 as described above to keep the gate in place and allow staff to evaluate conditions throughout the spring to determine an appropriate opening date based on conditions with expressed consideration of fishing opener. And I so move.
Okay, I think we have a motion and a second already. Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I'll just add that, here's why I asked to have that language added in there. Because as we all know, 25 years down the road, once we've done this, no one will remember that we talked about fishing opener at one point. So put it in the motion, make sure that it's clear that that's why we're talking about this. Specific consideration, doesn't mean one way or the other, but at least we are aware that the question came up and that we have addressed it.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Number 10 was a discussion on a stop sign request for North 10th Street and Ivy Street. Motion coming out of committee was to direct staff to look into alternative options for signage, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Chesak. Any discussion? Mr. Chair.
We did have an individual reach out to multiple, at least myself and the mayor, and as well as staff, and I believe he's been in contact with the police department, trying to get a hold of traffic going through the intersection you see here. There is a stop sign on either side, but he's requesting a stop sign for north and south traffic. Based on just the data that the streets department and Mr. Dean have showed us, a stop sign isn't necessarily warranted there. No crashes. Speeding is actually not as bad as it might be considered just based on what it looks like from somebody's porch. But there still is a concern because traffic is coming over a hill and then there's an intersection not far from where you really can't see somebody standing there. So what we want to look into is if we're not going to put a stop sign there, do we have some other type of blind approach sign or some kind of warning that something's coming up that you want to slow down? And that's what we'll revisit in a couple weeks.
Thank you. So that was a direction to staff with a motion and a second?
Yes.
All right. Motion by O'Day, second by Stingline, to have staff. Chezak, I'm sorry, thank you. All right, just double checking. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. The big one for tonight, number 11, was our discussion item on naming our new truck. We don't have a name yet. We have a process. 72. We have 72 names so far that have been entered. So staff is running this, what you see here, there's some links online that you can just come in and type your suggestion in the box. What we'll do is come back with some of the favorites that are appropriate, at least mostly appropriate, hopefully. And we'll move forward with another session of this survey where each of those maybe top 10 or so names are ranked. And then hopefully in the next meeting or two, we'll come back with a vote from council on naming the brand new truck.
That is good news, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
We should have ended on that, but there's more.
Let's, is that a motion?
Yeah, we can end on that.
Oh,
All right, please proceed.
thank you. Number 12 is a report of the survey results on Washington Street Special Services District. This is information only as well, just a discussion item. Long story short, the Washington Street businesses that we inquired if they were interested in special services, as far as snow removal on the sidewalks, they were not interested, vast majority. We did only get maybe 25% or so returning, but as you can see, the majority said no. So we can move forward without considering hiring that special person into the future based on what we've found in that survey.
Any comments on item 13?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Chezak.
Well,
Or item 12, I apologize.
yeah, to me, it's like we had such a low response, okay? So does that just mean people don't care one way or another? I'm kind of hard pressed to say 50% of 25% or over half of 25% said they didn't want it specifically. So what is over half? Is it like 52% of 25%? It's really not that many responses to just kind of say, we're done with it. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily write it off, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, please proceed, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 13 was direction on small engine repair and home businesses. Coming out of committee, we went with option 1. Any items not listed as prohibited in the motor vehicle definition are allowed to be repaired at a home business and is considered minor repair services or similar use, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Stingline. Any discussion? Mr. Chair.
So we have another item coming up later in this meeting, and this was sort of done as a preemptive, almost a favor for the individual, just so that they know whether or not this is actually allowed. The individual repairs wave runners or does regular maintenance on wave runners, and we'll see later that it's maybe completely unrelated, but maybe partially related to expansion. The individual did speak in our meeting, expressed that he's looking for a commercial property to expand that business. He's well aware of the limitations in this statute or in this ordinance that he must follow, and that could come back to council if those are violated. But essentially, it's covered, I believe there were 4 different items that were in this memo. And number 4 kind of covers, as Ms. Stenglein pointed out, that no equipment, activity, or process shall be used in such home occupation which creates noise, vibration, glare, fumes, odors, or electrical interference detectable to the normal senses of the lot, blah, 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 blah. So keeping it to a point where you're not making a bunch of noise and your neighbors aren't complaining about it, as well as not selling things out on your street that were not completely made inside there. It's covered. So we chose that to move forward.
Thank you. Any further comments on the motion? Any further comments? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you. Our final item was a couple different properties on direction for active code enforcement. One is 1113 Rosewood Street. A few different violations there. As you can see, there's some pictures of damaged garage door, just junk and debris. I believe there was garbage. But on this one, the recommendation from staff, where am I seeing this one? I don't see it on here. I can find it. We almost made it through 14 items smoothly, but sorry. We'll get there. Okay.
This one's the obtaining a search warrant.
Start with the,
So with 1113, recommendation was obtaining a search warrant to abate the garbage, junk and debris, and also sending a $300 citation every month for the property maintenance violation until November 1st or until it has been fixed. The second property was actually two different properties. This one's a unique one, and we can go into more discussion on it if you
Let's
guys.
do this one first. So we have a motion to follow staff's recommendation.
On both.
Okay.
No, so it's one motion, right? I'll second it.
All right. So we have a motion by O'Day, a second by Chesak. Any discussion?
Do you want to know what the other recommendation was?
Yeah.
So 505 and 506 Rosewood, owned by two different individuals. One that lives at 505 actually has junk and debris in both parcels. So the one that owns 506 actually has nothing there, would like to get rid of that parcel, but it's hard to sell it when it's full of what you see in the picture there. Years ago, the person living at 506 was trying to buy this property with a contract for deed. It fell through at least one time, maybe two times. But long story short, he cannot get rid of the property as is. He's also receiving a citation. He has received multiple citations. He's well aware of that. He's trying to get this individual to clear their stuff off of his property. Recommendation that came out of staff was to issue a 10-day notice for final corrective action and cleanup for both 505 and 506 Laurel Street. If both properties are not cleaned up, staff recommends seeking legal action against Mr. Kramer, that is the owner of 506. And then if you go down just a short amount later. Yes, okay. That was it. That's all.
Any questions on the completed motion, though, on those three properties? Mr. Krambeck?
I just did want to clarify again, there's a typo on there, it was 505 and 506 Rosewood Street, not Laurel.
Not
Yes.
Laurel.
Good catch again.
Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
End of report.
All right.
Made it.
You did well. Next up is item 8, unfinished business. Item 8A is the final reading of proposed ordinance 1551, amending section 515-4-8, outdoor lighting to the zoning code. This is Mr. Krambeck. Anything you'd like to add to what's in our packet?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So the proposed amendment to section 515-4-8 regulates outdoor lighting on private properties and is separate from the lighting policy recently approved by City Council, which regulates right-of-way. So within this, all new lighting must have a correlated color temperature of 3,000 Kelvin or lower. All new non-residential lighting must dim by at least 50% or turn off at 10 p.m. or 1 hour after close of business, whichever is later. The PSP and park districts were added to the proposed lighting ordinance with a pole height range of 13 feet to 20 feet if there's shielding. Also, there was a discussion at Safety and Public Works, and recommendation was to leave the general commercial district at a also range of 13 to 20 foot with shielding as well. So with that, staff is recommending a motion to hold the final reading of proposed ordinance number 1551, an ordinance amending section 515-4-8. Note, a vote to dispense with the actual reading of the ordinance must be unanimous. Also hold a public hearing on proposed ordinance number 1551 and a motion to approve ordinance number 1551.
Thank you. Any question of staff? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look for a motion to hold the final reading of proposed ordinance 1551, an ordinance amending section 515-4-8 of the zoning code and dispense with the actual reading, whereas always a vote to dispense with the actual reading of the ordinance must be unanimous. Is there a motion to hold the final reading?
So moved.
Motion by Stingline, second by Stunek. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. The next part is, it is 8:30, and we will open the public hearing on proposed ordinance 1551 regarding the lighting. And ask if there's anybody online or in the audience that wishes to speak on ordinance 1551, the lighting one. If you're online and want to speak, please hit *3, and that will notify us that you wish to speak. So online, *3 notifies staff that you're here and wish to speak on this ordinance. I'll ask a second time and a final time, and I will close the public hearing at 8:31 and look for a motion to approve ordinance 1551.
So moved.
Motion by Terry, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Stengline, any discussion? Hearing none, Administrator Bergman, please call the roll.
Chesak.
Yes.
O'Day. Yes. Stunek. Yes. Terry. Yes. Stengline.
Yes.
And Bevins.
Yes, that ordinance is adopted. Item 8B is the final reading of proposed ordinance 1552, amending sections 1200 and 1205 of the Brainerd City Code on the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages in public places. Again, I will first of all turn it over to City Engineer, Public Works Director Dean, to see if there's anything that we need to know to bring us up to speed on this item.
Thank you, Mr. President. So before you is the revised proposed ordinance, based on the comments that were received from the council regarding the sale and consumption of alcohol in public parks, streets, and other public spaces. This proposed ordinance includes a prohibition of consumption of alcohol at parks during organized youth events, and specifically provides allowance for occupants of the campground as part of the rental. At the first reading, no additional comments from the council were received at the first reading of this proposed ordinance. Thus, the proposed ordinance before you has not changed since the special meeting on May 24th. So at this time, staff is recommending holding the second and final reading of the proposed ordinance, holding a public hearing to hear public comment on the ordinance. And should the council adopt this ordinance, the ordinance would take effect 1 week after its publication.
Any questions of staff? Any questions of staff? Okay, so just like the last one, the first item of business is to look for a motion to conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1552, an ordinance amending sections 1200 and 1205 of the city code and dispense with the actual reading. As always, a vote to dispense with the actual reading of the ordinance must be unanimous.
So moved.
Motion by O'Day to
Second.
approve, second by Stengline. Any discussion? And this is just on the reading of the ordinance. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, it is 8:33, and I will open the public hearing on proposed ordinance 1552. If you're in the audience, you're welcome to come up and give us your opinions on this ordinance. If you're online, we're looking for *3 to let us know what you have to say about this ordinance. This is your time. It is 8:34. We're in the public hearing on proposed ordinance 1552. I'll ask a second time if anybody wishes to speak. And a final time. We will close the public hearing at 8:34 and look for a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 1552, an ordinance amending section 1200, 1205 of the city code.
So moved.
Motion by Stingline, second by O'Day. Any discussion? Kara Terry.
So, thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the fellow council members for bearing with me during this whole evolution of this ordinance. I want to kick myself and apologize to whoever might be wondering, but the ordinance in terms of the sale at parks, the list of parks in which no sale is to occur is a bit longer than the section of the ordinance around consumption of alcoholic beverages. I should have brought this up at the first reading, but I did not. The second list under subdivision 2A, Mrs. Bain, Meadows, and O'Brien Park, and I'm not quite sure the reason for that oversight. Certainly, I'm not going to, say anything about that or raise any issue because that's my fault that I didn't bring it up. But I just wanted to share a little bit of information with you related to alcohol consumption in Crow Wing County. So the student survey was completed the first half of 2022 to kids in 8th, 9th, and 11th grade. We had about 1,037 kids who responded. One of the questions that was asked is, have you used alcohol in the past month? 8th grade measures 8.9% of males and 10.4% of females noted they had used alcohol in the past month. 9th grade was 9.8% male, 14.1% female, and 11th grade, 12.2% male and 19% female for have they used alcohol in the past month. The 9th grade trend that we were paying attention to since 2009 up through 2020, alcohol use was dropping. However, with the pandemic, so since 2021, alcohol use started increasing again, as well as possibly contributing to mental health issues with our kiddos. Youth see alcohol as a social norm, and alcohol in the parks is a part of our social activity. And while I agree with Memorial Park, registered campground guests, events with approved permits should all be allowable, overall, alcohol at all parks is contributing to our social norm narrative, and that's not something I really want to promote. I've heard from a number of individuals thanking us for voting no on the initial ordinance. So I've heard from community members, business owners and leaders, moms and dads, youth, people with lived experience, and family members of persons with lived experience, all thanking us for voting no. I wanted to also share that on May 23rd, Crow Wing County in our community corrections area had 757 adults on probation or supervised release. That's 757 in Crow Wing County for DWI offenses alone. So those are all folks that community corrections must supervise, and those are taxpayer dollars being used to do that supervision or to help provide that supervision or a portion of it. What I also know is that alcohol-related illnesses, including hypertension, increases in STIs or sexually transmitted illnesses, as well as motor vehicle crashes, all are serious concerns and impact all of our insurance premiums, whether that be health or vehicle insurance as we move forward. Treatment expenses, including job loss or time off of work, or the impact on families related to alcohol, is a concern. I am not saying that all people who drink have a problem at all. I enjoy having a good beer from time to time as well. But of those that do have a problem, that impacts individuals, the families, as well as the communities as a whole. So I will be voting no on this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
President Bevins?
Yeah, Mr. Chesak.
I did vote no on this on the 15th of May, and I understand that there were some law enforcement, Brainerd Police, that had gone to the at least Memorial Park and just remind people. I guess they were very good about it, and everybody was happier, that everything went smoothly. at the park, and they asked people that, or reminded them they couldn't have any alcohol. And apparently after that, there was quite a bit of pushback on our social media about the council making that decision. And you know, it's great to see people pushing back, and I respect that. And you know, there's a lot of other things that we should think about too when we push back, you know. On society, you know, beer is important for people playing softball on the weeknight or whatever over the weekend. And, you know, there's things like our state legislator has done this past session that have just appalled many people, that I wonder if the same outcry is given to those events as well. You know, teenage girls can go in and be sterilized for life now based on laws that were passed this past session. And Second Amendment rights are being violated with our due process being challenged. So, but beer is important too. So I asked, my concern was Councilmember Terry's regarding the Bain Park and not having alcohol there, so that was one of the reasons I voted no last time, but I can support this this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none. Administrator Bergman, please call the roll.
Chesak.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Terry.
No.
Stengline.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes, that resolution is adopted. And the ordinance is adopted. Next up is item 9, committee recommendations. These are recommended by myself as council president. I have James Norwood for the Planning Commission and Jeff Grunwald also for the Planning Commission. Is there a move to approve those two recommendations?
So moved.
Second.
Stunek, second by Stengline. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Welcome aboard. Next up is item 10, call for applicants. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, the following applications are available at our website, www.ci.brainerd.mn.us/boards. You too could hear Councilman Bevins call your name and tell you welcome aboard. It's an exciting day for all involved. Charter Commission, 2 terms expiring 2026, 2 terms expiring 2025. Library Board, 1 term expiring 2025. Rental License Board of Appeals, still 5 terms. Still 5 terms.
Unbelievable.
Available. I can't believe it either. This is the one group, I'll just say this, not to slow our meeting back down, but this is the one group that I became the liaison for, was told hadn't met in 7 years, and within a month we were meeting. However, we have not met since, so you're right, we're right in the sweet spot of like a 6-year lull. Get on board. The TAC, 1 term expiring 2023. We also have only 1 term available for the EDA, which expires 2028.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as council president, I have 1 term on the Parking Commission to expire in 2026, and 1 term on the Planning Commission, an additional term to expire in 2025, and 1 in 2024. I believe those were the 2 we just filled. Yes. Yep, sorry. Next up is item 11, new business, to consider a beekeeping permit for 1209 Oak Street. Mr. Kramvik, anything you wish to add to what's in our packet?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So Brian Timmers submitted an application for a beekeeping permit for 1 colony at 1209 Oak Street. The applicant has met all the requirements outlined in section 900.06 of the Code of Ordinances. All property owners around this property within 150 feet are notified about the permit request by mail and can object to the permit. If there is an objection, the permit then goes to City Council for approval or denial. So staff did receive 2 calls and 1 email. The email is within the packet. Regarding the application, the email and 1 caller indicated that Mr. Timmers did not live at the property and had concerns with his ability to manage the hive if he was not always present. Staff cannot verify this through utilities or property information, but Mr. Timmers did admit that someone else lives at the property but does not pay rent. Another caller was unable to email but did have concerns for their family, as one member is very allergic to the bees and the colony would be in close proximity to their home. Mr. Timmers did have a property owner within Crow Wing County verify his knowledge of beekeeping. It was a large property south of town that has an orchard and combined services to help pollinate the orchard, but then also Mr. Timmers raised the bees for honey. Staff did view this property on Crow Wing County and verified it as a credible a credible person to speak about the knowledge of Mr. Timmers. With that, staff would like City Council to review the facts and public concerns and make a motion to either approve or deny the permit application. And to add that, staff did reach out and let the people who are objected to it know that it was going to be on tonight, but nobody, to my knowledge, is here with that. The applicant is here. If you do have any questions or if he would like to speak, with that, I can turn it over to council.
Thank you. We'll start with any questions of staff. Any questions of staff? I'm a lot, we also have a couple of people online, so we're going to see. They may or may not want to talk about the bees. Mr. O'Day.
I'm just curious, how often do we have bee colonies in town?
So there is one on Bluff Avenue, a little bit larger property abutting the Mississippi River, and then there's one on Easy Street as well. So if we do send out letters, they were sent out letters. If there's no objections, they just administratively receive the beekeeping application or the permit. But if there is objections, it does have to go to City Council for approval.
Have we had any problems with the existing?
Have not had any issues with those two properties.
Thank
Not
you.
even bears, yeah.
Any other questions of staff? Okay. Is the applicant here, and would the applicant like to speak? No? Okay. Do you want to speak? Okay. Perfect. Now, anybody who has an objection to the bees wish to speak, either in the council chambers or online. If you're online, you hit *3. *3 will let us know that you are interested in speaking. Anybody at all? Okay, so we've had all the information I can give you. Anybody wish to make a motion on the, we have to go yes or no on this, because when the person applies, you have to give them an answer. Okay? So we're looking for a motion, thumbs up or thumbs down on the bees.
I'll move to approve, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak. We have a motion by Mr. Chesak to approve the application. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Stengline. Any comments? Questions, concerns on the bees? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Let's move on to 11, new business. 11B, to consider a variance request at 2424 Business 371 for outdoor monument sign. I believe this is Mr. Granvik.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So Scott Doss has submitted a variance request on behalf of Minnesota Teen and Adult Challenge to install a 15-foot tall monument sign. Monument signs in the PSP district cannot exceed 12 feet in height by ordinance. Planning Commission considered this request at their last meeting. There were concerns voiced by two commission members that a design alteration of the sign could achieve the desired effect for the applicant, and therefore a variance would not be required. Cost considerations for custom signage does not constitute a practical difficulty alone. There was a motion to approve the variance request and a vote tied 2-2, which means the motion failed and no other action was taken by Planning Commission. Staff does recommend approval of the variance request as it will not alter the essential character of the locality. And this public, semi-public zoned property is uniquely positioned next to Business 371, where there is an increased right-of-way distance. This particular property, I believe, is around 70 feet from the edge of the road to where they can place the sign. Also, the rate of travel compared to other properties zoned PSP. I certainly can answer any questions. I believe the applicant here is here as well.
We'll start with any questions for staff. Any questions for staff?
I have one.
Mr. Chesak.
James, I apologize that I didn't see the square footage differential. If I did, I know there's a, is the current sign more or less square footage than the new one?
So the new one would have more square footage. I think it's close to the 100 square foot that is allowed. The old one has considerably less than that. And I think the old one is at 13 and a half feet high.
Thank you.
Any further questions of staff? Any further questions of staff? Anybody care to try to make a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by O'Day, second by Chesak. Any comments on the motion, for or against? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That variance is granted. Item C is also consider a variance request at 431 B Street Northeast for the garage addition. Mr. Krambeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. DJ Holmquist at 431 B Street is requesting a variance from the accessory building standards side yard corner setback, essentially be 7 feet from the corner lot property, and is proposing a 12-foot by 24-foot addition as well as a second story to the existing garage that is there. The TN1 district requires a 10-foot side yard corner setback. The findings of fact noted that the buildable area for accessory structures on this property is reduced to 27 feet because of that side yard corner setback, and in addition, the lot is non-conforming in width. Also, the applicant would like to reuse and repurpose the existing garage that was built prior to the current zoning code standards. Planning Commission considered this request at their last meeting and unanimously recommended approval of the variance request to allow a 7-foot side yard corner setback for the proposed addition to the accessory structure. Just do want to add that it is somewhat related to the small engine repair that Mike had mentioned earlier. However, this is a completely separate issue, so you should be looking at the requirements of the variance versus, that home business issue as well.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Any questions of staff?
Mr. I'm just amazed you got these both on the same agenda. Like, is this coincidence or?
So the first one with the small engine repair, it was recommended or motioned by, I believe, Commissioner Duval to have me consult with the city attorney to see if this would be permitted as a potential home business. So it was brought to light because of the variance. After consulting with the city attorney, it was more of a policy decision, so that's why we brought it to Safety and Public Works.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? Any other questions of staff? Hearing none, we're looking to either approve or deny the variance request to allow for a 7-foot side yard corner setback for the proposed addition to the existing accessory structure. And then what else was that, Mr. Krambeck?
And that was it.
Okay, there's nothing you were adding.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Chesak, was it? Yep. And second by Stenglein. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That variance is granted. Item D is to consider a variance request. A variance request for 3 Washington Street Northeast for Dunkin' Donuts. Mr. Krambeck, you're popular tonight.
Thank you, Mr. President. So Dairyland Operations, Dunkin' Donuts, has requested 2 variances for 3 Washington Street Northeast Brainerd. The first request is to allow their main entrance to face the rear of the property. The second variance request is to allow for a 27-foot 1-inch principal building front yard setback, a 24-foot side yard corner setback, and a 66-foot 7-inch rear setback. Section 515-2-14 requires principal facades to have a 0 to 10-foot build-to range from the street/avenue. So based on the property size of 0.28 acres, the applicant does have a challenge complying with the zoning ordinance. Drive-through facilities require circulation around the property and an appropriately sized stacking lane to accommodate vehicles. The proposed building is a drive-through and pickup-only establishment which makes multiple entrances to the building impossible. The proposed rear of the building provides enough space for staff only. Staff has been working with Dunkin' Donuts on a number of preliminary ideas for this one. There were alternative ideas to even have it closer. Earlier designs did place the building closer to Washington Street, but did require pedestrians to walk through the drive-through lane. Also, the city engineer had concerns with the proposed location of the exit to Gillis Avenue. So the design here does allow for an exit that is much further away from the intersection, and pedestrians no longer have to go through the drive-through lane. So with this, Planning Commission considered this request at their May 17th meeting and unanimously recommended approval of the 2 variances with 3 conditions presented by staff. The first one was landscape. Parking lot standards must be applied to the parking lot and drive-through lanes along Washington Street and Gillis Avenue and must be approved by staff prior to issuance of the building permit. A 65% glazing requirement along Washington Street must be depicted on the construction drawings prior to the issuance of the building, and the walk-in cooler must be either screened or consistent with the architecture of the building. And with that, I can certainly answer any questions. The applicants may be online. I did send out a WebEx request.
Thank you. Let's start with any questions of staff on what we're voting on. Any questions of staff? Mr. O'Day?
Is glazing like the donut glaze? Or is that something different?
That sounds good.
Boy, that's a good
But
one.
no, so
I'm
that'd
dead
be, yeah,
serious.
so
I
that'd be
don't know what that
glass.
means.
Yeah. So that'd be a glass requirement.
50%.
So it's not the edible kind?
It's not the edible kind. So a good example of this that's already on there would be Jimmy John's. There's probably about 60 to 65% glazing, and there's no front entrance actually on the building. It's a side entrance, so it's kind of to make it look consistent with that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I had the same question. It wasn't quite exactly the same, but I didn't know what that was. Any further questions of staff? Any further questions of staff?
I was gonna have the same question.
All right. So what we're looking for is we have a recommendation from staff to approve both the variance requests at 3 Washington Street, to allow the main entrance to face the rear yard of the property, and to allow the 27-foot 1-inch principal building front yard setback, a 24-foot side yard corner setback, and a 66-foot 7-inch rear setback with the following 3 conditions as listed. Anybody care to
So
make
moved.
motion to approve?
Correct.
By Stunek. I'm sorry, I forgot you guys were even here.
Second.
And Kara Terry seconds that. Any discussion on the motion?
And Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Chesak.
if somebody were to vote no, can we make them then buy the first donuts for the next council?
I think so.
No? Huh? Okay.
I think that's fair. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The variance is granted. Item E is a rescheduling of the joint city council BPU commission meeting. This is Administrator Bergman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council. Staff is still working on the restructure of the BPU department and would like to bring the structure recommendation to the BPU Commission for their consideration prior to the joint meeting. The next BPU Commission is on June 27th, therefore the day after our proposed joint meeting with the commission was scheduled. Staff is recommending that we schedule the joint meeting actually for July 31st, and that would give the commission one more meeting in July in case there are questions or things that needed to be changed prior to our joint meeting.
Any questions or comments? What time and where?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It would be here in council chambers at 6 p.m. on Monday, July 31st.
Anybody object to that? Anybody object to that? That's July 31st. It's a Monday. It is the 5th Monday in July. Okay, then I'll look for a motion to approve that meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Terry, second by Stengline. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed, Administrator Bergman, to item F.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and actually, I may pass this over to Councilmember Chesak.
Oh, okay.
Chesak.
I asked that we have a item on our agenda to approve a workshop to talk about the procedures and rules of decorum. I think there's some confusion with staff when they're to take, direction from council and when they're not. So that's why I just asked that we have a workshop, and Jennifer was nice enough to put it on the council, or on the agenda.
You got it.
So, Mr. Chair, since we just postponed the joint meeting with the BPU Commission that was scheduled for June 26th, the recommendation would be to have this work session on June 26th here in council chambers at 6 p.m. And as Mr. Chesak mentioned, he had asked to have me include the rules of decorum, and I think Mr. Chesak was looking for clarification.
Perfect. I think that's a great idea. Any objections to Mr. Chesak's request? So we're going to take the 26th, which was the BPU meeting, and make it this meeting. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
So
Second.
Motion by Tara, second Tara. Yes, second by Chesak. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. So we have 2 workshops coming up. Item 12 is a public forum. This is time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the council. We usually ask you to keep it to 3 to 5 minutes. So it is 8:59. I will open the public forum. And if you're here to speak on something that we haven't spoke on tonight, now's your chance. Or if you're online, remember *3, and I see our online guests have gone. *3 would notify us that you wish to speak. Second chance for public forum. And a final chance for public forum, and we will close the public forum. We will move on to staff reports. We'll start at my left for HR Director Schubert. Attorney Langle? No, sir. Anything for Mr. Kramvik?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. A couple items. So next Planning Commission meeting, we do have an application for Country Manor. This includes a rezoning PUD district as well as a plat. So that'll be at the next Planning Commission meeting. We also have a conditional use permit request from the YMCA for their childcare facility, so that will also be heard at the next Planning Commission meeting. Also at the next EDA meeting, which is on Thursday, VCV has presented an alternative design for one of the properties in the industrial park. The packet has been posted. Council members can see that it is now a building rather than outdoor storage as a principal use. Also at the next EDA meeting, there was, I believe, around $71,000 worth of reallocation of deed Main Street grants. There were a couple projects too that had alternate considerations for their design. So there was, from the subcommittee of the EDA, the recommendation was to change the 2 projects' scope for what they were requesting, as well as distribute the rest of the funds to 416 South 6th Street. That's everything.
Thank you. Mr. Dean, City Engineer, Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. So street department's completed its spring street sweeping throughout the city. We'll still have our weekly downtown sweepings. If you haven't seen the crazy amount of spraying water, the park staff has gotten the Gregory Park fountain up and running, as well as the splash pad over at Memorial Park, so they're both up and going. The downtown plantings have also been planted and installed. This week, staff's gonna beginning on repainting the downtown crosswalks, so you'll still see a lot more fresh blue down there. Finally, the detour on Oak Street is up and traffic is being rerouted onto Rosewood around the Safe Routes Project construction area. Staff has made some temporary stop signage adjustments to better control the additional traffic coming through the neighborhood. This area has seen an influx of traffic with the closure of the Highway 25 bridge. Although their assigned detour uses DC 6th and Washington Streets, with the Oak Street closing, we would expect that some of the travelers that have used Oak Street as an alternative route would use the assigned detour to avoid the area. That's all I have.
Thank you. Finance Director Hillman. IT GIS Director Strong.
Nothing.
From the Police Department, Chief Davis. Welcome aboard. And Administrator Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council. As we just talked about, the project that was funded through capital bonding in 2023 at this last legislative session, I actually got a call this morning. The governor has requested a tour of our water plant and the area there where the new backwash facility will be located, and that's what's going to be done with the $5 million. The governor will be at City Hall at 10:30 on Wednesday morning, the 7th of June, this Wednesday. We'll meet here in council chambers and from there go to the water plant. He will be here from 10:30 until 11:30. Would welcome any council members who are able to join. An email is also going out to BPU commissioners as well. Secondly, last week I received a purchase agreement from Just for Crypto, who is interested in purchasing a portion of the Wright Street Extension Industrial Park. The EDA will review the request at their special meeting July 6th, and then we'll make a recommendation for the council, and that will be on your agenda for July 17th for your consideration. And then just two more brief things. First of all, the ribbon cutting at Lyman P. White Park. I'm sure the mayor will probably talk about that more, but I just wanted to say what an excellent event. I thought a great turnout for the ribbon cutting and a beautiful park that our residents and visitors can go and enjoy. And last but not least, a big thank you to Chief Bestel for all he has done for the city of Brainerd for the last 2.5 years as chief, and a big welcome to our new police chief, John Davis.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Well, Jennifer took all of mine. So first of all, thank you. Welcome aboard. Former chief now, thank you. Really do mean that. Every word from earlier, though. We really are in good hands, and we appreciate where we're headed. So keep us going the right direction. Increase the amount of mustaches, please. Next on board, what was the next one? Lyman P. White. I wasn't going to talk about Lyman P. White, but now I'm going to because you said that I should.
Well, that's not on the
Just
agenda.
super fast. Thank you to everyone that came out. Fantastic event, very well attended, which is always fun. We found out that we as a city do not own large scissors. So, we found sparkly gold ones. Good work on that, Jesse. Sparkly gold ones. But it was a great event. And the one thing I do want to say, and I had said this to Mike and Tiff earlier, we got the acoustics right, which amazed me because it as an amphitheater, it actually sounds amazing and the sound travels extremely well in both directions, which I didn't think we could do it. I sat in those meetings. Nobody in that room seemed like they knew how to make something like that work. And yet, here we are with a phenomenal space. Super excited. Thank you all for that. And lastly, Jennifer letting everyone know that Governor Walz coming here on Wednesday. However, I will say this, Governor Walz, it is past Memorial Day. I don't wear pants. So there will be no pants on the mayor. And you can take that however you want.
You are going to wear shorts.
I hope so. I hope so. Hope I remember. Welcome aboard, Mr. Governor.
Can't top that, I'm done.
Oh, man. I appreciate the warning.
It's not coming anymore.
Let's start over here. Chief Stunick, anything to add?
I have nothing.
Secretary, anything to add?
Just a big thank you to staff for the event at the new park. You did a really good job.
Yeah, that was excellent. I was there as well, and nothing to add, Mr. O'Day?
Everything has already been said. Again, welcome aboard, Chief, and thank you, Mr. Bestel, for everything you've done.
Tiffany Stengline?
Yeah, so at the last Region 5 meeting, we decided to form an advisory committee on the Welcoming Communities initiative that Region 5 has been working on, trying to recruit and retain more workers into our community because we need more workers. So.
Thank you. Jeff Chesek?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. So we're looking for a motion to adjourn. We're going to ask that we adjourn to the Wednesday meeting with the governor, so everybody can go if they want to. And then don't forget, we've got June 22nd. Oh,
26.
June 26th, a meeting on rules of decorum and other procedures, as well as July 31st with public utilities. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion Stunick, second O'Day. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.